Okay, so we're going to be getting right into it. Oh, as you all know, I'm under the weather and I am working to get back on top of the weather. I'm on my dose of drugs from last night, and these will be wearing off in about 2 hours. So I figure, you know what, let me come in and talk about some stuff that I wanted to make you all aware of. We were looking inside of the book, The Creation of Patriarchy. Okay, people are starting to come in. Hey, Akira. Welcome, welcome. How are you doing? Some people are going to start coming in with you, and so is today Sunday? Oh, wow. I'm not even keeping up with the days. The days are going by quickly. All right. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. Come and shout out your city. It's a little early, especially for a Sunday. I'm not expecting a whole lot of people to be here because I had an epiphany and I wanted to come and share my epiphany with you all because I, as a woman, we have been bamboozled and we have been tricked by the normalization of female subjugation, so much so that we don't even question it anymore. I know that I will never change my last name. I know I will never do that. I won't. But it goes a lot deeper than that. Poetic, shout out your city or where you're from. We're just going to go ahead and get live on all of the platforms so that we can just jump into the topic. Oh, we have Plano in the house. Plano. I don't think I know anything about Plano. I don't think I know anything about Plano. Oh, we got Bed-Stuy Do or Die in the house. Okay. All right. Does Plano have a call phrase like money earning Mount Vernon? Hey Tisha, the text went out. Or only black areas get those call phrases. Plano I don't know. What could they say about Plano? I don't know. You have to tell me if it has a call phrase. Like Bed-Stuy Do or Die. Oh, Alexa says I showed my friend the winterscape picture. She was amazed it was in Utah. Yeah. And you know what? I am also hearing, it's funny because I spoke with someone last night who said that they were in an area that was like the winterscape and it was in Maryland. So I'm like, okay. You see, the thing about it is when you move away from negative people who are like, oh, that's impossible, oh, this is that, and you really keep your mind focused on where it is that you're going, you attract other people who know that it's possible. So, okay, we got Strong Island in the house, Baltimore. I know they call it Bodymore. True Poetic. What's the call tag for London? Are you in what do they call the black area of London? Brixton? Is it called Brixton? Okay. Suburb of Dallas. Okay. I know Strong Island, Long Island. Okay. Good morning, Robert. You're up early. Oh, we got two people in London, UK. We got Aisha and we got True Poetic. All right. Kendra's on the text notification squad. Welcome in, Ken. So what's the call phrase for does Brixton have a call phrase? Because black people are gonna black people no matter where we are. You know what I'm saying? So I'm sure London has a little call phrase for your part of London. You know what I mean? When I visited London. I stayed there for a few weeks many years ago, and it was a very interesting place. The tube was interesting. I traveled all over. I went from London to Brighton, and then I went up to Birmingham. I went to what do you call that place? Livingston. What is it called? Liverpool. I went up to Liverpool. And then I went back down to London to fly out. But yes, I went all the way up to Liverpool and down to Brighton. Brighton was like something from a movie. It was like really interesting. It looked like something that you see in the movies. So we got South London in the house. We got a lot of Londoners. I guess because it's so early in the United States that, people overseas are on. We got Belgium in the house, Indiana in the house. Nobody is giving any call phrases. So nobody has call phrases. So only New York has call phrases for their cities and towns. Well, maybe just the Northeast area is what we're saying. That's interesting. That's interesting. All right, so I'm going to go live on all of the platforms. We're going to be talking about women, patriarchy, the normalization of women as slaves, even as how it's normalized in the Bible. I had an epiphany this morning, and I wanted to share that with you all because I'm like, wait a minute. I'm not going to tell you all just yet. We're going to go and get live on all of the platforms. Ooh, that's too loud. So we're just going to go. We're going to get live quietly, okay? Quietly. Shh. I am glowing, aren't I? But you could tell from the bags under my eyes that, I don't know, I slept well last night, but it was weird. It was really weird. I kept feeling on my body last night, and I was like, I'm losing muscle. I'm losing muscle. This is what I was thinking in the middle of the night. I was like feeling on myself, and I was like, I'm losing muscle. I'm losing muscle. And I don't know why. That was the thing that was on my mind all night. I was like squeezing my legs. I was poking my belly. I was like, I'm losing muscle. I'm loose because I haven't worked out for a few days while I was under the weather. And I was like, be more careful. Is that what they call Baltimore? Lord have mercy. So I was just like tossing and turning last night. My watch told me that my wrist temperature and respiratory rate was higher than normal. And so I was struggling last night. I was struggling. Okay, we got BK in the house. Body workout ready for a mental workout. All right, let's go live on all of the platforms. We are live on Facebook. We're live on LinkedIn. We're live on Twitch. And we are live on TikTok. And of course, we are live on YouTube. All right, so good morning, everyone. Welcome. We are doing some sunrise psychology today. I realized quite recently that I like to read in the morning. When I try to read at night, I'm just too stimulated. There's too many things going on from the pileup of the day. So I have just now come to terms with the fact that I like to read in the morning. So I got up this morning and I am reading The Creation of the Patriarchy by Gerder Lerner. We are in chapter 4. We are in chapter 4, which is talking about the woman slave. Here. This is, oh, you can't even see it. I spent all that time trying to get to this page and you can't even see it. I'm going to turn the light down so you can. All right, here we go. The woman slave. This is where I am in the book. This is where I'm at. All right. And you all know I have the electronic version of the book to show to you all. So I had an epiphany this morning when I was reading, and I was like, I've only read about 8 pages more since the time that we last spoke about the book. But I said, you know what? Let me go ahead and come out and talk about this epiphany that I had. And I'm going to put all the comments up on the screen, right? Oh, Lisa says, I'm so excited to learn more this morning. I'm happy that you're excited to learn. I'm happy to share because I was kind of like, maybe I should read more before I come out. But I was like, you know what? I had an epiphany. So most of us here are going to have worshiped in an Abrahamic religion, either Christianity, Islam, Judaism, where there's this monotheistic male God. And there's a lot of messaging that we get inside of these books. And the normalization of women's subjugation and captivity, right? I'm going to ask you all a question. All right. I want you to think about, so I'm most familiar with the Bible because I started out as a Christian, right? I am no longer a Christian. After my mother died, I cleaved to the Bible. And I was like, you know what, let me dive into my faith and learn more. Maybe there's going to be something in here, because before I used to just flip through a random page and try to read a scripture. And then after my mother died, I said, rather than just going to a random page, let me start in the beginning. I went back to in the beginning, and I began reading from Genesis, from the let there be light, all of that, right? And I read and read and read until I got to the story of Job. And by the time I got to the story of Job, I was no longer a Christian. I was like, I can't. When the Bible started talking about God waging some bet with the devil and how Job would not break and all this other stuff, I was like, at the end of the day, this is a human being who is being tortured for the pleasure of higher beings, higher and lesser beings, that a higher being is betting with a lesser being. And I dated a guy in my 20s. I dated a guy who was a devout Christian. And he was like, oh no, the story of Job is what actually strengthened his faith. He even, when we stopped dating and some time had passed and we got back together, he was a good guy, but we were just at different places. And he took me to his church. When we started dating and things started getting, a little more serious, he took me to his church. And when I went to his church, because I guess he thought that this was going to make us closer, I went to his church and I was like, and he was introducing me to the people and everybody was all dressed up with their books and all. And the person in the front of the room was hollering out some death and damnation and all this other stuff. And I was like, to heck with this mess. And that was it for us. He's gone on and gotten married since then. I hope he has children, or I don't know, because we spoke not too long ago, but it just wasn't for me. I couldn't do it. But I have a question for you all. When we think about the Bible and they mention concubines, let's talk about what it is that we know about concubines, right? Let's talk about what it is that we know, because I'm going to go into the book with you all, right? I'm going to go into the book with you all, and we're going to go piece by piece in what it is that I've learned recently. But I wanted to talk about my epiphany. When it comes to concubines, what do we know about concubines? So, come on, raise your hand. You can just type it out. I want to know what you know about concubines. So B Will, you're welcome. Let's answer. Let's answer. What do we know about concubines? And I want you, and because this exercise that we're doing right now in talking about what we know, let me get my tissue so I'm not just sucking snot into my nose. You all know I'm a little under the weather. No one wants to answer what we know about concubines? Come on. This is not a trick question. This is just to gain information. I just want us to, there's a little bit of a delay between when I say it and when you hear it, but still there's enough people on here that we can be typing out some things. Be will, true poetic. Okay. All right. They are extraneous women outside of marriage used for sexual purposes. Okay. Wife or someone they laid with. Okay, yes, tell me some more. Cult leaders. A concubine is a cult leader? I've never heard of that. I don't know what we're talking about right now. So let's continue. I want to hear some more. Polygamy, they're sex slaves. Thank you, Freeman. Thank you. Let's keep keeping them coming. Women or men held as sex slaves. Okay, keep the information coming. Keep it coming. They were sex slaves of the royalty. All right. So let's talk about this. A side woman forces women into marriage, legal contract. Let me ask you all a question. Could the concubines leave? Could they come and go as they wanted to? Could they come and go as they wanted? Were they able to have autonomy of movement? Did they have freedom of movement? Could they go to the store if they wanted to? Could they walk out and about? Could they these are questions that I have, because the epiphany that I had is when I read about they have many wives. So now people using the word wife. Okay, listen. So could they leave? Did you get the sense that there was someone watching over these concubines, as even stated in the Bible? Okay, so here comes the answers. No, they couldn't leave. Somebody is saying side chick. Okay, all right. A person to engage in intimate activities. Okay, all right. They couldn't leave. They didn't have freedom of movement. When you think of a concubine, what is the idea that you have in mind? The idea that I had in mind was just a group of women kind of sitting in like a kind of underground dungeon or area with a whole bunch of women in there, and that the king or whoever would come down and choose one of them to have intercourse with when he wanted to, and if he happened to like one of them more than the rest, then she could elevate her status to more. But the idea that I got from concubine is a bunch of women sitting in a room with a eunuch, watching over them. And we knew that the eunuchs were males that had their testicles clipped off so that they did not have the urge to violate these women, right? So we talk about concubines in the Bible as if this is a normal thing. But we are talking about the brutalization of women. We're talking about the enslavement of women. We're talking about the dehumanization of women because these women could not leave. If a woman cannot leave, can she consent? Listen, let's talk about it. If she can't leave and she doesn't have freedom of movement and autonomy, can she consent? That's the question. Can she consent? I'm going to give you all a few moments to start coming up with the answers to that. Could she consent? And if she cannot consent, now seriously, I want us to think about it. Can she consent? Can she say no? If the person came down there to try to have intercourse with her, could she say no? All right, let's see. Concubines with domestic surrogate slaves. Concubine equal conquered and bound. She's seen as property. Kendra says, wow. Someone says no. A Perry's just coming in. Hey, a Perry. CJ says no. It was impossible for them to consent with no choice. So if a woman cannot consent, then what is it that we're talking about? We are talking about, in the Bible, the normalization of female rape. This is what we're talking about. That's it. Let's not make it pretty. Let's not make it flowery and turn it into more or less than what it is. We're talking about the normalization of women not as human beings. So even when I read about this in the Bible, it was just kind of normalized because they're just writing about it. No one is outraged. The Bible school teacher isn't outraged. It's right here in the holiest of books. Female rape. The institutional, normalized female bondage and rape, where even we do not see these women as human. We just see them as having the purpose of just sitting there waiting for a man to come down to take them, to rape them. They cannot move. They cannot leave. They cannot say no. So when we say that men don't see women as human, we have to realize that not seeing women as human has been normalized for us as well. So now let's get into the book, because today, for those of you who have come in late, we are going over The Creation of Patriarchy by Gerder Lerner. We are in chapter 4, where we're talking about the woman slave. Because I want you all to see, part of the reason that I'm going through this is because I want you all to see that what it is that, and somebody's talking about the concubines are probably minors. So you know what, listen, we're going to get into the book. We're going to get into the book in just, let's see, how do we do this? Oh, come on. Why is this thing? It's like, come on. Here. All right. So when we last left off in the book, we were talking about the ways in which you can mentally get a person to stay enslaved, right? So slavery was an invention created by men. And so permanent enslavement was what it is that they were after. They wanted to be able to keep slaves. So listen, let's talk about it. So the concept of permanent enslavement had to be instilled into the minds of not only the enslaved, but the enslaver as well. So there was a permanent powerlessness on the side of the enslaved, and then there was total power on the other side that became acceptable conditions of social interaction, right? So this was just a normalized way of life for the people who had enslaved and who were enslaved. So let's talk about what it took. I took some notes here on the side. So slavery. Who were the people that became slaves? Slaves started out as war captives. The way that it began is they would go and murder everyone, right? But then they said, well, you know what? Some of these people may be able to be used. They tried to bring some of the men back, but the men were very violent. And so it was very risky to bring men back. So they would kill men on the spot and then take the women, right? So they were war captives, and their slavery was a substitute for death. It was a commutation on their sentence of death. So that instead of them dying on the spot, that they would be used and brought back, right? So in order to be able to get people to stay in slavery, so here, slavery was a substitute for violent death. Natal alienation, and what natal alienation is when whatever your legitimate birthright was, whatever your status in your original clan was, all of that was wiped away. Whether you were someone's wife, whether you were someone's mother, whether you were someone's, it doesn't matter. Natal alienation took you away from your birthright. And then not only that, you had to be dishonored in a generalized way. So you had to be dehumanized. You had to be alienated and then dehumanized, right? So how did we get to this point? It started long before this. And it started with the contractual. So here, let me see. All right. The process of enslavement was at first developed and perfected upon female war captives, but it had already been normalized from marital exchange and concubinage. Look, I went back to the page before this, right, so that we can just remember where it is that we came from in terms of the text, right? Here, women's sexual, right here at the bottom of the page, women's sexuality and reproductive potential became a commodity to be exchanged or acquired for the service of families. This was the practice of men selling their daughters in exchange for money, quote unquote, dowries. They're still doing this in Africa to this day, where the men of the family get reward or booty in exchange for the girls of the family. And that if the girls are unhappy in these marriages, they run back to their old village and they're like, look, let's give the dowry back, but the men have already spent the damn money. The girls can't even come back. The girls can't even come back. So here, this is what happened. So the women were transported away from their home place, right? And it says, since their male kin had been slaughtered, these captives could have no hope of rescue or escape. Their isolation and hopelessness increased their captors' sense of power. I want you all to remember that when we're talking about concubines, we're talking about women who were captured in war, that being in this concubinage state, that they could not consent, they could not leave. They were, you know what, we'll continue forward. So here, the final act of male dominance, the rape of captive women. So the rape was used to break them. The rape of these women was used to break their spirits. Why? So they found out that women would submit to whatever conditions her captor imposed in order to secure the survival of her children. And if she didn't have children, guess what? They would rape children into her. And then she would do whatever it is that she could to ensure the survival of her children that were raped into her, right? So even historians, when historians talk about female slavery, they just skim over it. They're like, oh yeah, women weren't sent, because even in the historians' minds, they don't really understand, where would those women be if they weren't there? What would they do with their freedom of movement? You see, the dehumanization of women and girls starts early in our minds, that we don't even think that they would rather be doing something else, that they would rather be able to see sunlight. Do you think that those women in the harem saw sunlight? Do you think that they were able to go out and play and get exercise? Do you think that they were able to get a man of their choice? Or did they have some big belly, scruffy, smelly, unwashed ass man coming and pulling them up to rape them whenever he felt like it. So nonetheless, part of the reason that they kept women as quote unquote concubines is because the effective employment of male captives had not yet been worked out. Keeping of male prisoners of war was dangerous. Why was it dangerous? Because if they tried to give them farm tools, the farm tools could be used as weapons. That's the bottom line of it, right? So what did they do? They found out, right? They found out that human beings can be enslaved by other means other than brute force. How did they do this? What were the ways in which they could keep them enslaved other than brute force? It had to be psychological, right? So here, one of the things that they did was the refusal to formally recognize the social relations the slave had. It had profound emotional and social implications. So what does that mean? In all slave-holding societies, slave couples could and were forcibly separated, and the consensual quote-unquote wives of the slaves were obliged to submit sexually to their masters. And so this had a twofold effect. This had twofold effect, right? Oh, not only that, here, let's go to the top of the page. Not only that, children inherited no claims or obligations to their parents. So children didn't even know who their parents were. When you think about concubines, did they have access to their children? Because if they were having children raped into them, where were the children? Did you get a sense that in these harems there were children? No. The children were most likely in other parts of the castle, being servants or whatnot. And so parents lost access to their children, and children lost that parental connection, right? Listen to this right here, and you'll understand how the Black community is the way that it is. Let me blow my nose. Give me just 1 second. Okay. Look, listen. The rape of conquered women was twofold. It dishonored the woman and by implication served as a symbolic castration of their men. This is 3000 BC. They figured out that if you raped a man's wife, that it would not only break her, but it would castrate him. Listen, men in patriarchal societies who cannot protect the sexual purity of their wives, sisters, and children are truly impotent and dishonored. The practice of raping the women of conquered group has remained a feature of warfare and conquest from the 2nd millennium BC to present. This is something that men invented. This is something that men invented. Oh, wow. It's time for us to get up and dance. So someone is saying in China, a concubine had access to her children. I don't know that. I haven't gotten to that. We're talking about Mesopotamia here. So we're talking about a time 3000 BC. I haven't gotten to China. I don't know if they will talk about China. Hopefully they will. But we haven't gotten to that. But when I think about a harem, I don't envision children being there. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and get our movement break on. So Shamika is asking about the removal of children. So all men didn't benefit from patriarchy. Men benefit from patriarchy. What are you talking about? Men keep patriarchy going. All right, let's see if we, let's see. All right, should we play some country music, some trap music, some Spanish music? Let's see what this is right here. Like I told you, I'm under the weather right now, so I'm doing this movement break because we still need to move. So let's get up out of our seats. Let's get up out of our seats and move at least a little bit. All right. All right, come on, get off your seat. All right, let me, come on. Pulling up the truck, down at the dock. It's time to do some cruising, baby, get a little stuff. It's a Saturday joyride. Perfect Feast is the spot. We're on a boat, we're feeling fine. Drinking Tennessee whiskey, a big blue sky. We're going up, we're coming down. There's a party on the water, it's a hell of a time. We're on a boat, we're killing time. Get our own honky tonk with a bottle of wine. We're going up, we're coming down. Cheers to feeling alright, it's a hell of a time. Yeah, we're chilling out here, ladies in the beer, feet in the water. Top disappears, drinking Malibu Patron or a beer in a cup. We all get to dance and I get to chancing, kissing that country girl, romancing a whole lot of love, bumping out the bars. Yeah, we're on a boat, we're feeling fine, drinking Tennessee whiskey, a big blue sky. We're going up, we're coming down. Here's the feeling alright, it's a hell of a time. We're on a boat, we're killing time. In our own honky tonk, meet the big blue sky. We live it up, we got it down. Here's the feeling alright, it's a hell of a time. I'm falling for a small town girl. So kiss me, darling. Rock my world. Rock my world. Rock my world. Yeah, now it's a hell. We're on a boat, we're feeling fine. Drinking Tennessee whiskey, a big blue sky. We're going up, we're coming down. There's a party on the water, it's a hell of a time. We're on a boat, we're killing time. In our own honky tonk with a bottle of wine. We're going up, we're coming down. Cheers to feeling alright, it's a hell of a time. Hell of a time. It's a hell of a time. All right.
Oh, hell of a time.
Oh my goodness. You know what? Some movement is better than no movement. So I'm happy we were able to do that because, so if you move to that, you got 3 minutes and 18 seconds of movement in. So I'm happy about that. So we did do something. And even if it don't look proper, that's fine because even our body's ability to stay upright requires core strength. So, Lovely is saying, Tonya, sit down, girl. You coughing. It's okay to rest sometimes. Okay, but still, it's okay to have some movement sometimes too. And we had our movement, and I feel better. I feel better after that movement. So then my ears are a little bit more clear. Happy birthday, Star. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to ya. And so you see, listen, this is the difference in mentality. One person is saying, Tonya, sit down, it's okay. And another person is saying, that was fun. So it's like, come on, get up out your seat. Even if it's not perfect, it's better than nothing. So I'm happy about that. All right, so let's get back to So I did end up getting that yogi tea yesterday, the echinacea one. I'm gonna make myself some this morning. Oh, all right. Okay, so it looks like people are having an argument about whether or not men benefit from the patriarchy. So I will say this. By way of being a man in a patriarchy, a man is born with an inherited sense of superiority to women. Does the patriarchy actually truly benefit men? Keeping women subjugated and the hierarchy that's created in the patriarchy actually harms men. However, men do not topple the patriarchy because it is their hope that by means of working extra hard or whatnot, they feel that they can get to the top of the patriarchy. This is why they keep showing success stories or keep trying to talk about quote unquote success stories of people like Elon Musk, who his mother claims they were over the garage of a one bedroom and all this other stuff. They want to tell you these stories because they want to pretend as if the largest factor to becoming wealthy isn't the circle that you're born in. The largest factor to becoming wealthy is the circle that you're born in. That has already been proven. We can talk about that in another video, but this one I want to talk about. I want to talk about the woman slave. Whew. All right. So men are not superior to women. Women carry life in their wombs. Every human life comes through a woman's body. A man could never. He isn't equipped. You have to remember that we started out with goddess worship. However, we bred men to be bigger and stronger, and then they used that strength against us. All right, so let's continue forward in our reading, right? So we were talking about the use of rape to break the woman as well as break the man, and as well as break family bonds by keeping the children away from a communal or a feeling claims or obligations to their parents. Read here, read here. I feel like I'm gonna cough again. Oh my gracious. Oh, these people are still arguing, and Lovely is saying, oh no, I don't understand why we live in a patriarchy. Men only required to work, women run the family and shape and create life. Yeah, exactly. Listen, this is why I'm doing this reading, because we have been fooled. We have been fooled into thinking that men are these natural leaders and that they should be leading us, right? Melvon, please don't get yourself blocked today, okay? Listen, I'm not feeling well, So I really don't want to engage in too much effery. Please don't get yourself blocked. Lovely is saying, are you a man or a woman, trickster? You seem to not understand how the world works. No offense, they benefit from physical intimidation, which allows them to control. All right. Let's get back to our reading. All right, so here, women under patriarchal rule do not dispose of themselves and decide for themselves. Their bodies and their sexual services are at the disposal of their kin group. Listen, women have been made aware from the time that they're little girls that their bodies really don't belong to them. Actually, in many of these kin groups, their fathers posit as if they owned. How many of you have seen these cringy videos of fathers giving their daughters purity rings and just making it seem as if her virginity is his? It's very weird. It's cringy. It's diabolical, and these people are doing this under the guise of churchiness, and it's really creepy. It's actually really terrible. Please go to the description of the video, mistress. Okay, so here, at the disposal of their kin group, their husbands, and their fathers. So women get to know very early on, when they're girls, that their bodies, their sexual services, their sexuality, their wombs don't really belong to them. How many of you started getting messages when you were a little girl about how you needed to learn how to cook and clean for the man that was going to one day come and get you? So you had to keep yourself pure for a man that did not exist in the present. You had to keep yourself pure for some man of the future who was going to want your purity, so that your purity, quote unquote purity, didn't belong to you. It belonged to some man of the future that your father was safeguarding for him, so that your father would trade your purity for some money, for some alliances, for whatever the case may be, right? So here, the author says, I am arguing that the sexual enslavement of captive women in reality was a step in the development of elaboration of patriarchal institutions, such as patriarchal marriage and its sustaining ideology of placing female honor in chastity. All of these things are constructs of the patriarchy. Do men benefit from the patriarchy? The patriarchy hurts men. However, men have freedom of autonomy over their body. Boys are taught their body is their own. Boys are taught that it's good for them to explore with their bodies. Girls are taught that getting to know your body is bad. Your body is not yours. Your body belongs to some man of the future. And listen, I made an associate. She was 60 years old. Hey, peer together. I had an associate, she was 60 years old. And she's still talking about how she doesn't have intercourse with, and she's, she's saving herself. What? You saving what? You're 60. And she's talking about how intercourse hurts her because you've had at least one child. You talking about intercourse hurts because you're so tight down there. Intercourse hurts because the person ain't getting you wet. You're 60. The chastity days are over, dear. They're over. Come on. Like, get to know your body. Like, you're going to die having never had control of your own sexuality because you're over here shamed by men in the patriarchy. All right, let's continue going forward. By subordinating women of their own group and later captive women, men learned the symbolic power of sexual control over men and elaborated the symbolic language of which to express dominance and create a class psychologically enslaved person, right? So So men first started by subjugating their own women, and then they went out and captured women and subjugated them. All right, next page. Demenia is screaming. What are you screaming about? What's going on? All right. All human beings have the potential for tolerating enslavement, and they develop the techniques for and forms for enslavement which would enable them to make their absolute dominance a social institution. So, why do human beings submit to enslavement? There's this thing called Stockholm Syndrome, which was discovered in Stockholm after these people were they were held hostage by someone, but when they were let free, the people who were held hostage were actually defending their captor. They wanted to go back. They were sad to leave. And I'm a certified clinical hypnotherapist. When I was in hypnotherapy school, I learned that this is actually a mental construct. Like, this is something that we do in our minds in order to survive. We will love our captor, like have a genuine feeling of love, because the human body, it is designed to survive. And if you are in captivity and you hate your captor or you're rebelling, this can lead you to doing things that can cause your death. And so the human body will manufacture fond feelings of your captor. But listen, if a person cannot consent, if a person doesn't have the right to consent, it doesn't matter how enthusiastic they may seem. If they don't have freedom of movement, the ability to consent, and if they are under threat of punishment or harm if they don't go along, then they can't consent. Here, so it may be taken for granted that as long as POWs remained as slaves at the disposal of the crown, they were worked to death under the most inhumane conditions or died because of sickness or ran away whenever possible. So it was a bank robbery in Stockholm. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, it's a very real thing. It's a very real thing. That's as far as I got. This is what I wanted to share with you all. There's still about 15 pages left to this chapter. I'm going to go through the rest of that. If I learn any new epiphanies, I will let you all know. However, the next chapter, chapter 5, is the wife and the concubine. So we're going to learn more about concubinage and that. So I'm hoping that they're going to go into China and other areas. These are archaeologists and historians who are using artifacts to piece together how the patriarchy formed and began. So the next chapter is going to be the wife and the concubine, and I'm hoping to learn more about just the ideology of it. So here, it looks like they're talking about Mesopotamia, Babylonian Empire, law codes, etc. So we're going to get into more of that a little bit later. But for today, I just wanted us to talk about, let me get back to the page I was on. This is the last page that we were on. All right. So if you enjoyed today's topic, go ahead and put up a number 1. I'd appreciate knowing. If you learned anything, let me know what it is that you learned. CJ is saying chapter 5 is going to be good. Yes, I believe that it's going to be good too. But let me look at some of these other chapters. Let me see if they have a table of contents in here. Let me see. I don't think they have a table of contents. But if they do, let me look at the names of some of these chapters. Oh yeah, there is a table of contents. All right, so here, this is the table of contents. Oh, the ones are coming up. All right, I'm glad. I would love for you to tell me what it is. If there is something that you learned today, I would love for you to tell me what it is that you learned, because it's very risky for me to do these videos because the algorithm doesn't like teaching. The algorithm really likes salacious, scandalous topics. Oh, wow, a lot of you enjoyed this. Wow. So if you learned something, let me know what it is that you learned. Here, these are the table of contents. So we have gone over introduction. 1 is the origins. Chapter 2 was the working hypothesis. 3, the stand-in wife and the pawn. 4 was the woman slave. So the first 3 chapters were really kind of like, okay, just kind of giving an overview of how we got here. And then now we're diving into it. 5 is the wife and the concubine. 6 is veiling the woman. 7 is the goddess. 8 are the patriarchs. 9, the covenant. 10, symbols. 11, the creation of patriarchy. Wow. So let's see, I've been following you for over 5 years and your content is always good, and content especially for women. Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. What did you learn from today's video, Lisa? Kira is saying, I've been studying the topic while doing family tree research. Mama is saying, 1, I never thought about cinquains. Is that a typo? I don't even know what cinquains are. All right, let me get to where it is that I was in the book so that yeah, I'm really interested in getting to the other side of this book because there's so much in there to learn about how we got to where it is that we are. I didn't really look at concubines as being oppressed. Thank you. Exactly. That's the thing right there. Like, we just like, oh, do. And so I remember when I went to Los Angeles and I was looking for some place to stay. And I remember going to South Central LA and seeing how, like, Crenshaw and all these areas, how they were so depressed and so filled with Black people. And I'm like, why are white people not realizing that Black people are being subjected to the ghetto from coast to coast? I'm like, but they think that we want to be here or that this is our rightful place. And I realized that us as women, that the ways that we even think about other women who are captives, that we don't even see them as human, in probably the same way that many white people don't really see our humanity. I am late to your early morning class. Now I gotta go watch a live. Okay, all right, yes. I learned nothing much has changed for the better since 3000 BC. Women still a slave. Oh my gracious. Christian evangelists and other Christian denominations along with Judah. I never understood the patriarchy being the way and the concubines being oppressed. Yeah. And there's a person named Mike that's saying Christian event. Oh goodness, it went by too quick. Let's see. It's gone. All right. I never thought too deep about the methodological thoughts behind the early enslavement of women. How it evolved will be so fascinating. All right. Okay, so it was a typo, concubines. My epiphany is that us women don't discuss our own history enough to become empowered from it. Those who don't study history are doomed to repeat it. Perry says that's a good analogy. I don't even know what analogy we use. I'm tired and under the weather. I did not know that women started being taken when it became too dangerous to take the men captive. I have to do the replay gang too. Yeah, that's where we are. I'm glad that you all learned because I was kind of thinking maybe I should read more before I actually come to the public with this, but I'm glad that I came with the epiphany that I came with, because as I learn, I will bring the information for you to learn. And the next semester is going to be starting in a few weeks, so I am going to start reading some of my books to just get a head start on it. Oh, we never put up our thing. We never put up the time for the thing. So here, let us do let us do another dance break, and then after that, handmaids take us a good view of concubines. I learned how women was forced to be pick-me's or else. All right, get up out your seat. Let's do a little dance. I'm not feeling, listen, I'm just gonna do a little something. All right, come on, let's get up and do a little dance, okay? Oh my goodness. All right. If you move to that, you got in 3 minutes of movement. So slowly but surely, we're getting up to our 25 minutes. Oh, all right. All right, now let's get into our self-love lessons for today. Oh, you know, I have the book, Women Who Run with Wolves, but it's just a book of poems and short stories. I didn't really get much out of it. Oh, the analogy about black people living in hoods from coast to coast and white people thinking we like it. Same thing with concubines. Most haven't thought of it, actually. Okay, got you. Got you. Oh. Whew, I'm happy for the little bit of movement that we have done. My watch I wasn't moving fast enough because my watch did not pick up all my movement. Because it says that I've only done 3 minutes of movement for the day, but I know I've done more. I know I've done more because the first one was like 4 minutes. This one was like 3 minutes. So maybe my heart rate didn't get up high enough. Oh, my core is worked all the way out. I love to hear it, Lizzie. I love to hear it. All right, let's do some SLLs now. So the self-love lessons, type SLL for your, if you wanted me to read your self-love lesson, type SLL. And then type your self-love lesson, something that you've learned about deepening the love that you have for yourself from today's video, and type it from the positive affirmative, starting with using I or me as the subject. So rather than saying you, this, say I or me, right? And then positive affirmative, so we're not going to use words like don't, never, not. Lisa is saying, I'm a white woman who intentionally moved to the hood, and it goes deeper than most white people can comprehend. It's now a trap to try to escape. I can see this. Oh, Lord, she done got into the hood and can't get her ass out. Lord, you didn't intentionally move there, and now psychologically you trapped. I don't even know what to say. I hope you get out, my dear. I hope you get out. Ooh, where am I? Oh my goodness, hold on. Somebody is writing me privately about the right on the thing for the algorithm, right publicly. Somebody is saying what I learned. Just as we have pick your master slavery called employment, we also have pick your oppressor slavery called marriage. They realize it's easier to control via the guise of freedom of choice. That's interesting. But write it publicly so that the algorithm can see that people are watching and writing. I came to my phone to make sure that I read all the apples if there were any. Because, you know, sometimes people send apples and I don't know about it. Okay, looks like the last one I have is from yesterday where the woman was like, bye, bitch. Lord have mercy. That's the last one I got up there. All right, SLL. So I want you to type your self-love lesson. So the self-love lesson is, okay, so see how Mama is doing it? So Mama says, I will value myself and other women. Okay, that's your self-love lesson. Okay, I know my self-love lesson is, just because something seems normal. You know what? The self-love lesson doesn't have not, don't, or never, or that in it. So let me rephrase this. My self-love lesson is to create my version of normal. That something can be historically normal and I can do something different. That is my self-love lesson, because some of the things that have been normalized for us, could be done differently. I value myself and other women. I live my life. You have the word don't in there, so rewrite that to take away any negative words. I will continue my learning journey. The more I study, the happier I am. You know, the lamp of knowledge is real. I have a plan. Don't you worry. I had to bump my head to make sure. Don't hurt yourself over there. I fell so in love with myself to the point I see when someone is trying to. So let's talk about what we do want, okay? The self-love lesson state from the positive affirmative. So don't have any words in there of things that you don't want, okay? Oh Lord, my damn cup of tea done fell over. It's all right. It's all right. Oh, too much is happening at once. So Lisa, you have mistake and doesn't in there. Rewrite your self-love lesson so that you state what it is that you do want. All right. So Mahogany, type what your self-love lesson is. I am infinite love. Okay, I love that. I have the best thought about process of my life. Okay, Tasha. Okay. Let's see what other self-love lessons are out there. I live my life to the fullest. Okay. And you live your life for you. Yes. Whew. Whew. So, Lisa, rewrite your self-love lesson, okay? Rewrite it for me, please. For you. Rewrite it for you. You don't have to. I am blessed to be a woman. I love that. I love that. All right. All right. So I'm going to jump out of here. I'm going to, I wonder what I should do right now, because I did get a pineapple last night, but the person who bought the pineapple was male, and the pineapple looks really, really green. I'm going to try something that I've done many years ago. I'm going to eat the pineapple by hand. So I'm going to scoop out each one of the triangles, or each one of, not the triangles, the diamond shapes. I'm going to pull out each one of them, because pineapples were meant to be eaten by hand. If you have a Scribd subscription, you can listen to the audiobook, The Creation of Patriarchy. Really? All right, Sun says, live my life to the fullest now. I love that. As a honor and value myself, I'm drawing honorable people to me. Yes, I love that. I love that. So Lisa says, learning from my mistakes is what defines me as a person. I would venture to even take the word mistake out. That everything happens as it's supposed to, and learning and growing defines me. I would take the word mistake out, and I would really focus on just the things that have evolved that are meant to be that way. Or if you have a different sentiment, that learning, so I would focus on the learning. My best master is the one over myself. Okay. I don't know what that means, but all right. I trust my analytical skills and focus on what serves and empowers me as a woman. I love that. I love that. I love that. Okay, so listen. I'm going to wait for Lisa to see if Lisa is going to rewrite hers to really focus on what she wants. I think after this, yeah, I've actually eaten a pineapple that way before, and I'm actually going to go get my pineapple now. And you know what? Let me see, because okay, I'm going to go grab my pineapple so I can get it started. I'm going to come back and read Lisa's new statement. Oh, I'll be right back, y'all. Oh, I feel dizzy bending down like that. Okay, I got it. I got it. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, man. Oh. All right. Let's see. Oh. All right. Whew. All right. All right. I got my pineapple. And I hope that it is sweet. I hope it is, because that's what I have in mind for myself. All right. That part doesn't taste sweet. But yeah, these pieces are supposed to be able to come out. I'm going to get it started with a spoon. Oh. Whew. Y'all, my gracious. Let me see if I could get this party started. Let me see. Oh, it's juicy. Very juicy. You see this? You see that little triangle? So yeah, you really can eat pineapple like that. Okay. Lisa is saying, just remember positivity can become toxic positivity. I am embracing my duality and honor all parts of myself. So there's a difference between writing out the affirming of the lesson that you've learned and toxic positivity. What we're doing is just practicing the affirmation, and in your affirmation, because whatever you focus on grows. So if you want to talk about mistakes, and if you want to talk about all the things that you've done wrong in your self-love lesson, you go ahead and do that then. Because if you feel that you know better and you're going to tell me about toxic positivity, then go ahead. I release you. I release you. Go ahead. Don't mind me. My information is here for people who want it. If you feel that you know better, dozo, do it. Do it. That's on you, kid. Okay. So if that's what you want, do it. Do it. I'm trying to get this piece out. Oh, the thing done flipped and then went underneath the doggone. Lord, I done lost my piece. I done lost my piece. So listen, nonetheless, y'all, I am going to get out of here. We have covered our self-love lesson. Son wants to make breakfast, but son, aren't you in England? You should have already been made breakfast. It's almost noontime there. It's almost the afternoon. What you talking about? All right. All right. So listen, I appreciate each and every one of you for coming out. Thank you for being a part of the broadcast. Go out there and love one another. Most importantly, love yourself. And part of loving yourself, I would say, have the humility to seek out trusted sources of information, and have the humility to realize that somebody out there may know more than you or know different things than you know. And just have the humility. Have trusted sources and have humility. So on that note, I will see you all in the next video. I'm going to eat some more of my pineapple, and then I am going to just kind of relax a little bit. So I'll see you all in the next video. Thank you so much for coming out.